the flag, we all beating our chest. When it's peace, it's the same old game, the same old players, same old names. Right. My skin is my sin. My skin is my sin. My skin is my sin.
What's good, fam? How's everybody doing? That's what's up. That's what's up. Hold on one second. My bad, but I had to cough, and I didn't want to cough in your ear, in your face, or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, been an okay day thus far. People that tune in on a week-to-week basis know that Thursdays are like my only official off day. As far as like every week, I get that same day off. So, hence the show being from 7 to 9 p.m. Not sure why we picked that time. We just did. And the Queen Afi will be a few minutes late. She is taking care of some business for her upcoming art show. And she will definitely give you some details on that so you can be tapped in on that. Shout out to Revolutionary Mind Cinema, the whole team, which includes Afi, Preach, Keith Horton, Eric Shepard, and Brian, I want to say it's Liggins, and I do apologize if I said it wrong. And if I forgot anybody, my bad. Oh, I did almost. Brick the Foundation. And if you have not copped his CD, please go to www.itsmebrick.com and purchase Exodus or Revolution. It's a double CD. I have mine in the car at all times. Phenomenal. But let me let y'all know you are tuned in to My Skin is My Sin on Blog Talk Radio. From goons to Godz, we welcome everyone. We only got one rule, and that's be respectful. And I want to be honest about we're having a little transition going on at my Skin is My Sin. AJ will no longer be on the show. I love my brother to death. He's always going to be family, just not going to be on the show. And that's all I really want to say about that. I see a couple people already tuned in. Salute to you. Typically, we would have the chat room open already, but for some reason, Blog Talk has just not been letting me access it for the last almost month or so. So I do apologize for that. The number to call in is 347-855-8692. You must press 1 if you want to get on air. And as always, we try to do the best that we can to accommodate everybody. But some shows, it just gets a little, a little bit much. So, and I'll let y'all know. If you got a little time to be a little long-winded, I ain't going to say nothing. But if I need you to be brief, I do apologize. I don't want to be rude, but I do have to tell you. So anyway, and for the first 15 minutes or so, we really don't talk about anything anyway. So if y'all got anything on your mind, hit me up in the event or one of the 1,000 times I posted it. And if you see one of the posts that I did post, do me a favor, go ahead and share that. Let people know that we live, because we got a phenomenal show on deck, and I don't know if you have seen the flyer, but we have the creator of a phenomenal comic book called Asset of the Godz. And his name is Brandon Anubis Heru Cole. And when you read the comic book and see it, you will, for one, feel bad that you called it a comic book, because I do every time. But for two, you will see the greatness that this king is on to. I was thoroughly impressed, and I'm not just saying that because he's coming on the show. I was that impressed that I'm like, dude, we got to get you on the show. We got to interview you. And he just has a phenomenal story as well. So we'll definitely get into that. I don't know. I told him to call up about 7:15. So we'll get into that in about 10 minutes. So while I got a little time, and ain't nobody really paying attention, so I'm going through Facebook, and I see Pastor sells Jesus' blood in 500 cc containers or 1,000 cc containers. and people is quite naturally like just sharing that and going ape over it, being just pissed. And then I look at the website and it's and I lost it. I got 2 Facebook pages open and I cannot find it. And but it was the silliest website. Like it was clearly not a one of those parody websites. Like, come on, people, we got to be better than that. I understand you got a point to prove, but if you're really trying to prove a point, then you need to do so accurately. You can't just take every little meme that you see that just because it validates what you think does not make it a fact. So do me a favor, and if you are trying to convert somebody or teach somebody or anything of the like, when you put something out there that you are aware of, that you can validate, that you can say, hey, at least be honest about it and say, let people know this is a joke. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, take shit serious that really isn't serious. Like I say, because it backs up their point of view already. You're like more inclined to believe a lie if that lie coincides with your truth, if that makes any sense. And I don't know, it just gets on my nerves. But while I got your attention right quick too, also, if you did not know, we are going to do the Conscious Olympics live at some point this month. I have a date in mind, but I'm not, we just going to drop it. We're going to give it a couple of days of promo and then just drop it. We have several companies, black-owned, that have donated some of their products for some of the prizes. And as I receive them, I will read their official cards and their official company name because I want to make sure that I get it right. And today I did receive some phenomenal earrings and necklaces from Mahogany L. And you can email her at mahogany at MROC as in Charlie, HE, L as in Larry, E.com. Or you can check her out on Instagram at _ M as in Mary, Rochelle Jules. So check her out and show some support. And we're going to also throw a couple of dollars on top of that, the prize package. And you don't have to do anything to play. I take that back. You only have to do one thing to play is when you see the post going live, share the post. That's all you got to do, and answer the questions. The person with the most points at the end of the game, and we'll go about a half an hour, they'll win the prize. We may have a couple of wrinkles in there as far as other people winning too, and I think we will give away something at random. But like I say, you don't have to pay anything to enter. You don't have to do it. You don't have to leave your couch. All you have to do is share the post and get other people involved. And if we got to pay people to learn a little something, we will until we can't anymore. So, and I do happen to have somebody in the queue right quick. So since we ain't doing nothing, then I got about 5 more minutes to kill. Actually, about 7. Let's check it out. Let's see what they're talking about. What's good, fam?
Hi, I just found you online, and I was wondering if you normally use your chat room or not.
I try to, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, like the last 3 weeks, Blog Talk would just not let me use the chat room. But I do. Are you on Facebook?
Yes.
All right. Type in Acid of the Godz, and an event should come up. If you join that event, then you can just, if you have a question that you wanted to say during the show, once the King gets on air, and you didn't necessarily want to call back, you could just type it in the event. Or if you happen to see one of the 32,000 posts I put up about the show.
Okay.
Yeah, my apologies for that, but Blog Talk is interesting, I'll say that.
Okay. Yeah, it gets that way sometimes.
Yeah. So, and hold on 1 second, Queen. Let me get my co-host in right quick. What's good, Queen?
Hey, peace.
Peace. And we was really, we don't really get started till about 7:15 or so. So we was just chopping it up. And I was telling the Queen, we got a Queen on the line as well. I'm sorry, Queen, what's your name?
This is Doc M.
I didn't quite understand.
This is Doc M. I need that name again. Hold up.
Oh, Acid of the Godz.
Okay.
And let me know if you got it, okay? You got a little background
Okay.
noise that's going on there too, though, Queen.
Yeah, and I'm in a space where I can't control the mic, so you probably need the music.
Oh, okay. All right, well, I'm going to do that. And let me know, though, inbox me and let me know if you are able to find it or not. I could just literally send you the link if you do that.
Okay.
All right. And salute to you, Queen. All right. What's up, Afi? You all right?
What up? What up? What, man? Being a boss is a full-time job, man. Being a boss.
I would not know.
All I know how to do, being a boss. It's hot. It's hot in Houston, Texas. Trying to be beautiful, being hot, and give directions is hard work. Somebody got to do it.
You love Texas, though. Can't talk about it now.
Oh, I do. Look, I can take 10, 15, stupidly hot days in Houston before I take 3-4 months of winter up there where you at. I'm good, Them couple of days I can go to the beach where I can stay in the air.
I'm good with. I actually like the snow. I know, somebody gonna be like, well, you ain't supposed to like the snow. I do. I guess I've grew up around it my whole life, and I enjoy going. Like going and finding a big hill next to a school and sliding down it. I'm not about to go skiing or that's a bit much, But the whole building the snowman, snow angels, that type of thing. Yeah, I enjoy that. Take the nieces, nephews, or whoever. We go have a good time.
I had to take a job.
And it's like just where you at though. You adapt to the seasons that you have as far as your entertainment.
I don't know, man. I spent 3 years in Michigan weather, and I ain't adopted not a damn thing. Not one day. Every day I was like, this shit again. So I'm sorry. It's different.
You had to be there for a while.
I went from one extreme to the other. You know what I'm saying? I went from where it snows every 5 or 6 years for like 2-3 days to where, you get 4 or 5 months of some level of snow. So, I went to an extreme I wasn't prepared for, and it just kind of ruined, my whatever little bit of like I had for the snow. That's all.
All right. So what I was talking about before, I'm just making sure I'm just looking through the callers and make sure I didn't I'm not ignoring the king. But I saw a post about a pastor selling Jesus' blood.
Yeah.
Well, but they had a story attached to it. Some dude came up with a website, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't like a fake CNN or a fake MSNBC. It was some ridiculous name website. Like it was clearly a parody website. I mean, people were taking that as like validation for their arguments, and that's just disingenuous at best.
Right.
And so I was just saying, if you out there saying, well, this religion is just horrible, and you using that as part of your argument, it ain't that religion that's the problem, it is you.
Right.
And me personally, I don't really care what you believe in. That's up to you. But not everybody is like that.
Yeah, people don't get that. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's before I was even conscientious of, clearly I'm, a pretty smart kid, so I've always known about different religions and spiritual systems and stuff. But when I really understood that black people in this country participate in such a wide variety of religions and belief systems, like even then it didn't bother me because I'm just one of those people that honestly my sympathy level is super low. My empathy level is lower depending on who the target group of population is.
Yeah, you got to quit trigger.
It is, and at this point I'm so jaded about all of it just because of the profession that I'm in. So I'm one of those people like someone dies, I'm not that. It's like it's natural, it's nature. I don't cry at funerals. Somebody going through it. The whole bunch. It's like it takes a lot to move me at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I'm definitely not that bothered by somebody being on the completely wrong track as far as spirituality and religion is concerned. Because I just don't believe I'm here to save.
Hey, Queen.
Somebody.
I gotta cut you off because our special guest is in the queue.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know. I've been looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
And so we have Anubis Heru in the queue, and this brother is the founder of the Acid of the Godz. And again, if you have not seen that, please step your game up. Do your whole household a favor. It's something that you can read not only by yourself but with your kids, with your queen, and y'all can all take something from it. Not to mention the story behind his transition, so to speak. So without further ado, let's get the king on. What's good, fam?
Peace. More power to you.
What's going on? This is Jobs. And I'm sorry, go ahead. I was going to introduce you, Queen Afi.
Yeah,
how you doing, Queen?
I'm good. How you doing, brother?
Good. Excellent.
Good.
So, what part of the world you in today?
Man, I'm in my hometown, the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado.
Oh, okay, man. Man, I'm hoping we can get out there, too. So I forgot, man. We got dogs. We got to find somebody to watch the dogs for like a week. That's not easy.
Yeah, man. Let me know when you come through, man. Show you around.
Oh, definitely will do it, man, because we've been looking forward to it, How cold is it in October, though? Like, is it snowing, like, really bad there?
It depends. Normally it doesn't snow until October 31st, like right around Halloween, or like maybe the first week in November. But, I mean, it just depends. We got some weather anomalies popping off every year, so, it just might be a luck of the draw,
Okay, I feel that. And my apologies, man. I kind of just started this off so selfishly. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to the people and introduce Acid of the Godz to the people, because I can't do it justice.
Oh, man, you get it, man. But, I appreciate being on the platform. Thank you so much for having me on. Again, my name is Anubis Heru, and I am a Denver, Colorado native. Been here all my life. Went to Jefferson City, Missouri, Lincoln University for about a year, where I went to college and got that whole college experience, and created recently a graphic novel comic book titled Acid of the Godz with a Z. So if you want to check that out, acidofthegodz.com, and we do have a Kickstarter campaign going on right now, and it's really from my heart and something that I've been putting together for a while now. So I'm glad to see that it's actually manifested and something that you can, see and feel. So thank you guys for having me on.
Of course.
It's our honor, bro.
So
our honor.
Give us an overview of Acid of the Godz. Give us the background.
Okay. So the world is falling apart. A massive horde of genetically engineered creatures is systematically invading the globe. A young prince by the name of Manetho and 3 unlikely heroes must come together and join forces to find an ancient artifact that's going to put the world back in balance. But consequently, since the world is off balance, it's having a lot of issues and weather and things like that that may or may not be able to sustain life on the planet. So it's a race against time to, vanquish this enemy and to see if they can reset the balance and the equilibrium of the planet. So it's like a Game of Thrones meets Stargate.
Oh, okay.
Yes. You got to see the graphics too, and because Afi, she's a painter, so she will definitely be able to appreciate the detail. Is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I was waiting on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you know what? That's where we're going with it. So,
And I know somebody also wanted to know if you had action figures coming with it.
There are prototypes for action figures. I did have a gentleman sculpt some action figures. You can see some images of the prototypes on the Kickstarter page. But that is the vision. And, this is one of the reasons why I've invested so heavily into this project. It's not just a comic book. I mean, I love comic books. I grew up reading comic books, and that's basically one of my first loves, along with acting and writing and that type of stuff and sci-fi. But we need a franchise, if you will, much like, the Star Wars or the Ninja Turtles or, any pop culture type thing that reflects our history, our mythology, our martial arts, and everything. So that's why I've invested so much into it, because I envision it as something as big as those other franchises that I mentioned.
And so you do the storyline too yourself?
Yes. So started writing the story in 2005. I had recovered from a brain tumor, and it was a situation where I pretty much almost died. And while I was recovering, these ideas and these different things kept coming to me while I was laying in the room recovering, and there were just ideas at the time. There weren't anything substantial. You got to kind of build on these ideas to make them three-dimensional and make them into a story. From 2005 to 2012, I developed a screenplay or manuscript, whatever you want to call it, about 144 pages of action, dialogue, betrayal, love, comedy, you name it, it's in there. So, and I wrote it specifically for adults and their children to enjoy. I didn't want to create something that, my son, he's 9, something that he wouldn't be able to watch. And then I didn't want to create something so, young that, parents would just be like, man, I'm not watching that. That's it's too young for me. So I just try to create that balance. Yeah.
And having been able to read one, it was, man, you definitely hit the nail on the head. Like that, it was perfect. I enjoyed myself, and I'm not really, I haven't picked up the comic book in decades. And my only complaint was it was over. I was ready for the next one. Other than that,
I'm so glad to get that feedback, man, because when you're writing something like that, you have friends and family read it as you go, and because they love you, you don't always get constructive criticism, and sometimes you really do. But to have somebody that I don't personally know read it and give me that feedback, it's very humbling, and I really like the fact that you enjoyed it, and but don't trip. The second issue is in production, so we coming with it. We just trying to I'm just trying to pay my artist and make sure he's able to feed his people and keep it moving that way.
And who's doing your art for you?
A gentleman by the name of Ryan Best out of Boston, and he graduated with a degree in fine arts and illustration, I think from the University in Boston, I believe, if I'm off the top of my head. I may be mistaken, but it's on the East Coast. And this gentleman, super cool cat, man. He is what they call a concept artist. So, he can design the characters and design the faces based on your specifications, and then, go from there. So he's real easy to work with, and I'm so glad to have him on the team because, as I told you before, I've gone through a few artists, and, the relationships professionally didn't work out, but I'm still good friends with those other guys. But, like I was telling you, both Ryan and I are, really into martial arts and sci-fi and stuff like that, so we just kind of had a synergy, and, he's kind of taken this on as well, which I really enjoy that it's not just a check for him. He actually is really involved and wants to see where it goes. So he's excited as well.
That's dope. That's dope. And I'm sorry, Queen, I will gobble up time. Just cut me off whenever you're ready.
Oh, yeah, it's cool. It's,
okay.
Even in this short bit of time, like a lot of the things that he said touch home for me being an artist myself. You know what I'm saying? Especially with the, like me, I had to build a hardcore group, a hardcore team to give me criticism. You know, like I got a couple of assholes, on the team because I know they're going to tell me exactly what it is. No matter how much they love me, no matter how much, some piece, they really liked. If the next piece is not right, they're gonna tell me every time. And it took me a while to get a good 3-4 people where I know undoubtedly they gave me their honest opinion. And then I know how it is to start a project and needing somebody to believe in you, and you still need to make sure that you can, give them their fair, due. It's not a lot of people that's going to stay down with you through a whole project without being paid first. You know what I'm saying? So it's a struggle, and it's a dream, and you got to work at it and make sure. And I do like that you have a presentation. You have it laid out exactly, what it is, the premise, how you came about it, because that's what's needed to get people to invest in you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, so I'm just, I'm listening like, man, that was me at one point. You know what I'm saying? So I don't do the comic book, and I just started with digital art last year, but it's, you know what I'm saying, some of these experiences and situations, it doesn't matter what medium you work in, you're going to run into the same thing. So, I salute you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Got two bosses on the line, Job.
Well, salute
yes,
y'all,
indeed.
So, and you and I talked on the phone, and
yes, sir.
With respect to your brain tumor, it was it was more of a transition as far as who you were. At least that's what I got from our conversation, and I want to kind of get people to kind of go back to actually I got a couple of things. If you can tell us how you were prior to the brain tumor, and who you were with when you found out.
So, again, this is 2001. I just got home from college, living with my parents, and just trying to get through, trying to figure out who I am, and all that. So, I had really started to investigate the contributions of melanated people throughout the planet. Going to public school, they just basically told you were slaves, and you threw spears really well, and there was a couple dudes named Shaka Zulu, maybe Hannibal, and that kind of thing, and that was pretty much the history that we were given. It just didn't sit right with me. When you're in science class and they talk about, in biology, they talk about a Punnett square and how melanin is dominant and brown is dominant and all these other things and colors are recessive. So I said, wait a minute. Okay, so you're telling me we basically the first people on the planet, but we have no history? Like that, I don't understand that. I don't get that. So, and I'm a Virgo, so I'm the type of person, if I don't know something, I'm going to search to the ends of the earth until I know what it is. So at that time, I was questioning everything. I was questioning education. I was questioning religion. I was Christian at the time, and just going through that whole process of kind of just deprogramming myself. And I came back from school. I was working a job. I was working 2 jobs, going to school. So I was doing a lot. So when I started having these headaches in May of 2000, I was just kind of like, maybe it's just because of the altitude. You know, they'll go away. I'm only 20. I'm young. I'm invincible, right? So doing martial arts and stuff like that at the same time, doing spin moves, and then the room would keep spinning. So I was like, okay, this is kind of crazy, but hey, I got stuff to do. I got, credit cards to pay off from college, and so I just kept going. Well, one evening, my body completely shut down, and that was the day that I called my parents, and I lived downstairs in the basement. I called them up on my little landline. You got your little landline, and I said, hey guys, something's wrong with me. I need to go to the hospital, and they said, okay. And took me to the hospital, and they just basically said, your symptoms sound very strange. They don't send me home, so they're going to recommend a CAT scan. CAT scan comes back positive. Then they do the MRI, admit me, and then the resident doc comes in and says, you have a brain tumor, and it's a hemangioblastoma located in your 4th ventricle, which is in the back of the brain at the base of the actual spine. Or the spinal cord, very close there. And it's a die, like when you're playing dice, like a die-sized hole. Well, that's where the fluid is supposed to drain. So there's several ventricles that you have. Some brain fluid goes in, some comes out. With it. The fluid wasn't draining, so that's where all the pressure was coming from. So they basically said it's a golf ball size, and we don't know if it's malignant or benign, but you got to have surgery in the morning so we can find out. And at that point, I was like, I knew it was something crazy like that. And my parents freaked, and everybody else freaked, and I just knew I had to get it done. So all the while, 8-hour surgery, had to learn how to walk again. I used to draw really well. I can still draw, but not as well as I used to after the surgery. I had to, motor skills and, the whole 9. I had a palsy on the right side of my face. So there was a lot of recovery, that had to take place. And that's, to me, where my breakdown came in, because there's all these amazing things that I had planned to do with my life, but now I don't know if I'm physically able to do those things. So I had my mom bring my my $200 worth of books I got from this black bookstore, and I was reading Tony Browder, Ivan Van Sertima, getting videotapes about, different lectures from Phil Valentine, Bobby Hemmett. Man, I was going in. And then I decided that I'm actually going to create something which encompasses this information into, a palatable way like they do pop culture. I want to insert our history into that culture as well, because that's what's lacking. You watch Saturday morning cartoons, He-Man and, Silverhawks and, all that stuff, man, and there's literally no representation, So that was one of the main things that I wanted to do with my life, and what I feel like a portion of my purpose was, and that's to, help change and shift the dynamics of how our images are portrayed in the media, in transmedia, pop culture, the whole 9. So that's, it definitely was a transition. It helped me go from being kind of, on the fence about the things that I was learning to just saying, you know what, this is it. This is what my purpose is. I almost died. So only thing I can do now is just go forward 100%. And it took a while to, physically recover and get there, but, I'm very excited that these ideas and these different things, came to me, and, that I stuck with it, because now my son is 9 and he's starting to see, wow, okay, Acid of the Godz is a real thing. Like, yeah, man, it absolutely is. So, whatever ideas you have, you can, whatever you see, whatever you feel, you can put those into action as well. You don't have to wait till you're my age. You can start doing that now, what he is doing. So very exciting to see, and however I can contribute, man, I'm all in it.
All right, so for like I'm not the biggest comic book, but I love like the superhero movies. Superman, Batman. Batman was pretty dope too. Actually, Thor was pretty dope too. But my point was,
the movie,
as far as the powers of the characters, what they got, what they working with.
All right. So one thing that I didn't want to do was just create a bunch of heroes with superpowers and then just throw some dark skin on them or some melanin on them. I wanted to create, like the problem with X-Men is like, Cyclops, for instance, has laser vision, right? But they can never explain what it is. Like, he just has laser vision. That's it. So they don't really explain the science as to why these characters can do what they do. So that was one of the things that I focused on really hard was, if these characters have abilities, what are they? How and what are their limitations? What is all that about? So the first character, which is Hodari, and he's the family man. He's the nobleman, and he has several children, and he's got to go find this root to save his child. And without giving too much to those who haven't read it yet, when he was a baby, he was very sick, and his grandfather was a master botanist and a healer and a shaman. What he basically did was went to find this root, this elusive root, to add to the medication to basically slow down this very degenerative disease that he was born with. So he found the root, made the tincture, made the medicine, and it increased his metabolism. So his organs and everything are very, very strong. He can process and calculate information pretty fast because the root is basically in his body and it's keeping the disease at bay. So it's pacing the disease and keeping him alive, basically. So that's increased his agility, ability to jump, and his ability to run. So he's a sprinter, and he will, he's like a Usain Bolt times 20. So so that's Hodari. The next gentleman that I really like, this dude, his name is Kalfani. And Kalfani is from a very serious warrior clan by the name of Segu. And Segu basically, these were the baddest dudes. They basically, like kind of like the Vikings or the Zulu or the samurai, serious warriors. So he's one of the last of the Segu people, and what he's doing is he's looking for the dudes that took out his people. He was like, yo, if you were bad enough to take out my people, I got to figure out who you are. So he's going from place to place around the world looking for the baddest dude because he knows that's the guy who took out his people. But his ability basically is because genetically his people bred out weakness. So he has the ability to store kinetic energy in his muscles and generate a very, inhuman force when he fights. And if you're familiar with capoeira has a very dance-like system, and they use a Jenga, and this is what they call it. So that Jenga style of movement, it's to generate momentum. Well, Kalfani, with the Segu style, they're able to do that same thing, except that energy is stored in their muscles. So when they hit you, it's going to take the average dude, the above average dude down. So he's very strong.
They got
in
the
regards,
superpower.
but yeah. But it's built into their martial art. Like, not everybody can do that style of martial arts because their body can't physically take, the style. You know what I'm saying? So it's very secluded, very exclusive to those people with those genetics. You see what I'm saying? So even if he was to teach,
that's an interesting concept too, man. How they bred out the weakness.
I love that it's thought. It's not just made up it's fathomable, like it's attainable. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. So the next main character is Tumor. Now, Tumor is very interesting because he was just a regular kid living in his village with his people, and he comes from a long line of blacksmiths. So he's like amazing at fabricating and manipulating metal. So making weapons, armory, tools, whatever it is, their people were the best at it. They used to sell weapons to different kingdoms and nations around the planet. That's how bad they were. Well, Tumor, during his rites of passage, he was taxed to go and, get raw materials and things like that and go buy things from neighboring villages. When he came back from his village, everybody was gone and he couldn't figure out where they were. Well, there was this primate, very huge creature that just appeared and it started chasing him. Well, Tumor thought he got away, but he didn't. So what happens is this particular creature, it's possessed by a negative spirit, basically. So this spirit likes to embody this spirit likes to take the bodies of the strongest creatures on the planet. So without giving too much info, this particular spirit from the age of 12 till, him being in his 30s is possessing him. So it's giving him, super strength and the ability to do certain things. So that's where he gets his super strength from, because other than that, he would just be strong like a regular human, but he's enhanced because that spirit lives within him. Yeah. So the next character, which is one of the main characters, I like this guy too, the young prince. His name is Manetho. And Manetho comes from a line of royalty. And he's a young man that is on his own path or wants to be on his own path, but he's in line to be the next ruler. So he's not really feeling that. He wants to explore. He wants to see different things and experience different things. So he sneaks out at night and, he flies in his glider. He's very intelligent, very good at alchemy and manipulating the elements. So because of his ability to manipulate different things around him as in his environment, his ability for alchemy is amazing. So with alchemy, you can't get something from nothing. So there's always some type of sacrifice. But with him, he just has an innate talent to, create, manipulate, and do certain things. Also being the next ruler, he's also, tasked with studying, the martial sciences, war tactics, diplomacy, different languages, and all these other things to make him a better ruler. But,
right.
Unfortunately, he's in a conundrum situation. Ultimately, him being a ruler is what's going to help the people, get out of the situation that they're in. But he doesn't want that responsibility. So he's fighting himself, basically. He's fighting his own destiny by defying his parents and defying, his tasks during the day. So those are the four main characters and their powers and abilities. There are several different other characters. Like I said, it's a very character-driven story. So you won't just meet a character and, that's it. They have a very deep backstory, and they can even have their own side story or spinoff, once this story concludes. So I'm excited to get into that as well.
That's phenomenal, King. Like that is a lot of detail just for each individual character.
Yeah, man. It's
you can appreciate the fact that a very intricate thought process and a lot of planning went into this to make sure things made sense. Like, I'm sure I can ask you any question on top of my head about anything you just said, and you're going to have an answer because that's how much sense it makes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I didn't even get to talk about any of the sisters yet, but No. Let's see about the sister now. All right. Well, I'll go over Manetho's mother, Queen Mahindi. So she basically comes from not royalty, but she comes from a situation where she was an orphan, and because she was a talented, individual, being able to survive, there was a gentleman that saw in her, some greatness, and he had a little boy. And what they did was they adopted her and into the family, and she assimilated into their life. But the people that she came from, they were kind of nomads, so they were warriors as well. So she comes from a very serious warrior tribe as well, and they were very nomadic, and so she is very strong. And she actually had to learn how to be regal and more cultured once we got to, the Avaris, which is the name of the most powerful nation in Asset of the Gods. So eventually she rises through the ranks and, goes to school and, really starts to show a lot of promise. And she ends up meeting the king, the prince at the time. His name was Shabaka. And, they fell in love, which was not something that they, were allowed to do. It was a forbidden situation. But Shabaka convinced his father, kind of bend the rules a little bit. But it didn't happen overnight. He had to do a lot of, bending and proving himself. And she also did as well. She had to prove herself, in order to be assimilated into that royalty. And, now she's very prestigious and, the people love her. So because she came from, basically like almost a rags to riches kind of thing, and she was able to assume a high rank within nobility. So I think she's a very interesting character, and because she's a warrior, you're going to see her get down with some enemies within the story.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that one. And that it's like it's got more than just the surface message. Like you don't too often see any story where there's a quote unquote rags to riches story that involves a sister.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she was able to prove herself just makes the whole community look that much better. That would even be possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty dope, man. Like, geez, man, like that's. I can barely keep up with yesterday, and you got you just got a whole nother city going on.
Yeah, man. That's the thing that I, when I come across individuals that hit me up in my inbox and they say, "Yo, Asset of the Gods looks amazing," without even reading it, they tend to ask a lot of questions about, well, I want to start my own comic book. What's some advice you can give? And I'm, the first thing I always say is, man, like, if you don't have a complete universe, and I'm not just talking about a world, I'm talking about a whole entire universe built. And, just like if you're making a video game, you can't just create the surface of the video game. You got to create all the dynamics and, the coding and everything that goes into it so that the player has a real experience. And that's what that's one of the things that I did with Asset of the Gods is, people will have an experience when they read this and visualize it and become immersed into the actual lore, of Asset of the Gods. So I took a lot of time to develop this world and this universe. So I'm very confident with what I've been able to create so far.
That's dope. That's very dope. And if you are listening and you got a question or a comment, you can either hit me up in the inbox in the event or one of the posts, the numerous posts that I put out there, or call 347-855-8692. Make sure you press 1. And while I'm at it, I want to make sure that you do know that you are tuned in to My Skin is My Sin on Blog Talk Radio. From goons to gods, we welcome everyone. We only got one rule, and that's be respectful. Just had to get our little station identification out the way right quick.
Yes, sir.
So it's got to be time consuming. Like, how do you balance that with the home life? How do you not upset the home front? Because I know sometimes I personally get kind of like maybe over consumed with stuff that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm kind of tunnel vision and I may forget my queen and I have to like bring myself back to reality.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I mean, when I originally started writing Asset of the Gods, I'll be honest with you, I was working 9 to 5 and it was a call center. So between calls, I would be typing up, dialogue and descriptions and action and stuff like that. So that was one of the ways that I could fool myself into believing that I was getting paid to write my story, And, I mean, it's kind of funny because, I'd be like, thank you for calling such and such, blah, 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 and then I'd be like, man, dang, I had this idea I needed to get out, but I got a call, like, or, you're sitting there and, your bodily functions, it's like, yo, you've been sitting here for 5 hours, dude, you need to eat, you need to go to the bathroom, but you're so engulfed and you're so immersed into that world, but, I try to have as much balance as possible, and my wife can probably she probably has some instances where she's like, oh, you're on the computer again, like, pay attention to me, I'm just like, babe, I'm sorry, but she understands what this potentially could be for our family and the legacy that it could leave, so she's very understanding of me being in this process. But at the same time, I try to, she loves to go on trips, so, it's kind of like, all right, let's go to Miami or, let's hit up this place or that place, just to, try to have that balance. I don't want it just to be about me and my project, and I do my best to, give her attention and stuff like that. But I tell you, those days when, she's out of town or she's at work, best believe my face is going to be in that computer, writing, editing, drawing, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm in it. But, like I said, my son is 9. So, he's another, he's another individual that I have to devote time and energy to. And he's an adore to be around, man. 9 years old, just very inquisitive, talkative. He's into martial arts and science fiction and all that kind of stuff too. So, I have to balance that time and make sure I put it in my spirit to, say, all right, I'm not doing anything related to anything creative. I'm just going to spend time with the fam, and try to budget my time, to do those things. And it's just to keep the balance, keep the peace, So it is difficult, though, because some days I'll come home with an idea and I'll have to write it down or type it up real quick, or, I got a little recording app on my phone, and I'll just record it because I know on that day I'm not really supposed to be touching my computer. You know what I'm saying? So it gets tough, man. It gets tough.
I might have to do that one.
Yeah.
I'm not using that function often enough. I'm sorry, Queen. What was you saying?
No, I was saying, oh man, you got privileged time on the computer. I like that. That's a good give and take, though. I like that. You know what I'm saying? That's a give and take. And she, knows when you got to be on there, and she supports you, and when you got to pay attention to your woman. So. you know.
Oh yeah, it's all a learning experience, man. It's just like, we have no idea what this is going to turn into. So I'm hopefully one day, this will be a $1 billion company, and I can hire people and have time to spend with the people that I love, and just continue to build and create, and give people opportunities. That's what my ultimate goal is, man. I can't pass down a job to my children or future children, but my son, So this is why I'm working hard now. So later on in the future, there's other opportunities that can be had from it.
That would be kind of dope. And about, I don't know how many years sitting back with my grandkids, like, it was like, oh, that guy's a billionaire. Yeah, well, I interviewed him like 20 years ago or whatever it is. That would be kind of dope. How you big old warehouse, doing, everything in house, like what's the old boy name in Atlanta? Like, you may not like his movies or something like that, but Tyler Perry, as far as what he built.
Yeah. I mean, never mind the the content or what it is. I mean, the man's formula is success leaves clues. So I'm like, man, you built a whole empire off of that content. So, it's possible that I could, potentially do the same thing. And it's not just me, I know that there's other people involved in other alliances and other team members that I'd have to bring on. But, it's definitely all possible.
Well, what you looking
man,
for?
Take down my number.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, as many artists I can get on the team, that'd be, because content is king. You keep putting out the same picture, it'd be 2 weeks and folks get tired of it. You're like, dang, the picture's 2 weeks
So
old.
how often are you going to put the comic book out, though?
Right now, I don't have a set schedule, but like I said, we're working on the second issue. And the reason why is because when I wrote the story, I wrote it in screenplay format, so for a movie or television. So now I have to format it so that my comic book artist can use it, and then he can, he can do his magic with the right format. So, but the next issue I do want to put out no later than, November. And then we can work on the next issue after that, so probably every quarter is what I'm looking at. And then I could put out, a trade paperback. But it just depends, man. If I get this, this backing, financial capital and stuff like that, man, then we going full steam ahead. But, right now it's just a matter of me paying my team, what they're requiring, and to me that's important because, I'm not going to ask you to create this amazing work and you're not being paid with your what you feel you're worth. So because I as an artist as well, I understand that. So,
That's and all of this is coming out your pocket.
Yeah, 100%. So any investor is like, well, how much have you invested? I show them receipts. It's mostly, 100% my dime. So,
that's right, because investors want to know, do you believe in yourself enough that you're going to fund it?
Yep.
You're right about that. They will have that in a heartbeat.
Yep. Yeah, so it's been, very recent that, other individuals have been wanting to invest and put in a few dollars here and there, and that's really been a break, from me financially. But I find myself dropping dimes on stuff pretty often, which that's just going to come natural. But we want to get it to the point where it's paying for itself, So I've done some other things to put that in the works. We have an app that works with Android and your iPhone, working to monetize that so that people around the world can enjoy Asset of the Godz. So you don't have to have a physical copy if you're in, Kenya or Nigeria, Ghana, or Indonesia, wherever you're at. You can pull up this app because damn near everybody has a cell phone right now on the planet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So they
that would be very
go to
dope.
that app store. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's already developed. It's ready to go. Just waiting to hit the launch button and away we go. So, but it's all
definitely keep me posted on that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got a couple questions. I'm pretty sure it's somebody that you know. But they wanted to know if there were any Acid of the Godz products, and what does the creator hope to accomplish with the Acid of Godz project?
Yes, there are products available. So we have a live-action role-play sword that we have developed. It's that big character Tumor. That's a reward on the Kickstarter page. So like those Nerf swords, it's that soft foam, but it looks just like that sword that he has on the cover. So that's one product. We have T-shirts, other promotional products. Definitely want to roll out the action figures because, I'm 37 years old, man, and I walk through Walgreens and I see an action figure. I'm taken back instantly, like, yo. That Black
it never goes away,
figure?
bro. That never goes away.
You know what I'm saying? So it's tough, man. It's a $20 action figure. I'm like, not gonna tell my wife I got this, but it's for my son though, babe. It's for the scars.
I'm just gonna keep it for you so you don't break it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Especially with all the different black characters coming out, I'm like, yo, I gotta cop that. Might not see that. But one of the things that I hope to accomplish with Acid of the Godz again is I want to create a transmedia corporation with that being the catalyst. So I have other titles that are in my brain right now waiting to emerge. I'm not the type of person to have too many irons in the fire, but I have some other projects that are just as amazing as Acid of the Godz. So, one of the things I hope to accomplish is, some type of media platform. So, whether it's an animation, whether it's a video game, whether it be on your app or next-gen console, or an actual live-action film. These are the type of things that I am hoping to accomplish with Acid of the Godz, and it's definitely a very in-depth series to where, we can keep creating Acid of the Godz for the next 50 years. So, much like Star Wars started in the late 70s and they're almost there.
Still rolling.
Still pushing with new stuff, with the same universe, same lore, same mythology, but just some new stuff. So that is definitely one of the things that I hope to accomplish with Acid of the Godz.
I think you came to the right place too, bro, because we could pretty much, like we got Liberation Minded Media, which we're a part of. It's got, let's see, our radio station, Black Eye Stand Radio, Do the Knowledge Radio, The Rundown with Renee, and then we also got like a web-based magazine, Get This Wisdom. And Afi is with Revolutionary Mind Cinema, and she's an artist. They got another brother that's an artist and / graphic artist, if I remember correctly. Preach and Keith do videos. So if when you're ready to shoot that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man.
So we tapped in, bro.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I definitely want to do like a little trailer, like just something to keep the people interested, even if it's not like big Hollywood. My boy Memnon, man, I gotta give a shout out. Boy, and Memnon reached out, man, and was like, "Yo, I want to be Tumor." I was like, "You are Tumor." Flat out. You know what I'm saying? You look just like him, beard. Brother's like 230-something pounds of solid muscle. Yeah, that's Tumor right there. Like, he was born.
That was kind of dope too, man. And you got something else up your sleeve too. I'm not gonna give it away though.
What you mean? Like,
I ain't gonna say. As far as characters go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man, I reached out to KT to Arts Degree. You know, I'm definitely excited about that because, you know, I listen to this brother break down movies and, you know, health and plants and, you know, all this other stuff. He's a superhero, you know, right here, you know, in our time based on, you know, the way that he and, you know, disseminates information. So I had a cool conversation with him and, you know, definitely looking forward to adding him as a character, you know, on the project, man. We just got to, you know, be able to, you know, get it out there and make sure that it has the backing that it needs, man, you know. So
we're going to get Keith in there, too.
Yeah,
got to shout out my boy.
Absolutely.
Got to shout out my boy.
Yes.
But you know, and the crazy part about KT, man, is that like he's like a really, really just chill brother. Like when you see, you know, I think I had the impression that, you know, he was gonna be like in lecture mode 24/7.
Right.
And he's not, you know, and he still drops jewels. Don't get me wrong, but he's just a really like laid back cat that you know anybody can vibe with.
Yeah, I had a great conversation with him, man. I was, you know, absolutely. Yeah, so. And that's the beauty of Acid of the Gods, not to cut you off, is just because I'm a writer and creator, you know, when I come across people like that, you know, that are just amazing in their own right, you know, I can throw in different characters here and there as long as it makes sense to, you know, the story and makes sense to, you know, the universe, and, you know, I can make it, you know, do what it's supposed to do. But you know, individuals like that and in Keith and all that, you know, it can definitely and then my artist is so dope, he can make them, you know, their likeness, you know, in the actual book as well. So I think that's really exciting to be able to do that and incorporate real people so that they're immortalized, as you said, into that media format. You know, I think that's a dope concept. Recently developed.
That is, man. That's got to be like really like just from a man standpoint, like that's just the shit, man. You get a magazine, you get a comic book, you get a book, and you open it up and it's you. You know, then you get an action figure. Oh, come on, bro. Like, it gets no better than that, man. Like, I'd have to buy another 10 just because I want to break a couple, play with a couple, you know. I want to keep a couple for my great grandkids, you know. If it turns into Star Wars, imagine what the first one is going to be worth in 100 years.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
That's so dope, man, because everything can be improved upon. Everything that we're doing now, you know, at this present time, just think, you know, when we have the capital to hire people and hire talent, how much more amazing it would be, you know, once we're able to, you know, create a real, you know, situation where people are enjoying creating and, you know, being paid to create and just having a good time, man. I look at Google and I look at their campus and I'm like, yo, this is why Google's so hot, man, because everybody there is happy and don't want to leave the campus. They bring their kids. You know what I'm saying?
I heard it was dope.
Deck, you know what I mean? So, you know, that is definitely something that we can do as well. We just gotta, you know, create that collective consciousness and, you know, let go of the ego and just say, yo, we rolling with this.
That's a tough one right there, bro.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Trust me, I know. I gotta, you know, I be battling with mine, you know, but it's, and that's real, you know. You know, you gotta be checked every now and then. You check yourself, or somebody gonna check you, you know. So
that's a fact, and that's the beauty of having a strong queen in your corner. You know, is that you know she know how to check you without you feeling all tender about the shit. You know, because there's some people that may say the same thing. But the way they say it got you feeling some type of way, you know. But the queen knows you, and she's able to give you that information and you respect her enough to know that it's coming from a place of love.
Yeah. And then, not only that, man, coming from, from a martial arts background, shout out to Dr. Abayomi Meeks from the Moyo Google Cultural Arts Center. I was there since 2003, man, learning, Pan-African centered martial arts, spirituality, health, all these different things. Studying under him, you learn to have accountability and to have accountability for others, So when somebody says something to you, you check your ego at the door and say, oh, okay, why is he saying this to me? And you go back and you look in the mirror and you really think about it. Like, we have to, as a people, we have to be able to be accountable for our actions and be accountable for, the different things that we say we're going to do. And if I'm like, yo, you weren't here at the time that you said you were going to be. Come on, man, we got stuff to do, And if I'm late, I have to be accountable for that, and I have to be okay with somebody checking me on it, And I think that's just a huge thing about, the legacy, that we leave. We got to leave our babies with that information. It's not just about making money, but it's also about having integrity, and it's also about, being accountable and loyal as well, and having honor. These concepts are so lost in our community. That's why, the kids are running around doing whatever, So, but I kind of got off on a tangent, but.
Hey, bro, you at home, man. You say what you want to say, bro. It's hard to explain to people. It's more like a conversation with us. We throw some questions out there, and we just let it just go where it's gonna go.